Hello and welcome back to Too Many Books. My name is Sean, and today I'd like to talk to you about Boy's Life by Robert McCammon, or Robert R. McCammon, as it was originally published. Now, McCammon is a master of the horror tale, but honestly, Boy's Life, which is a coming-of-age story with little bits of horror, a little bit of magical realism, and a murder mystery all wrapped into one, is my favorite of his works. I recently did an unboxing of the Suntup numbered edition, which is spectacular, the best edition that I own. But I talked about how I had some other editions I wanted to showcase, and I figured, why not showcase them right here? So first and foremost, we have the hardcover first edition. This is from Pocket Books. Nothing too fancy here. It is just your regular trade edition. Mine was bought used many years ago, so it's seen some wear and tear from over the days. Nothing too fancy. In my last video, I did talk about this guy right here. Boy's Life, unfortunately, didn't get the credit that it was due because it was a branching out from the horror novels that McCammon had previously written. I talked about how Boy's Life and his follow-up, Gone South, not a sequel, just another novel that's in the vein outside of the horror genre, kind of disenchanted him to the publishing world, and he actually retired for a few years because the publisher didn't want to continue to publish non-horror titles. And I talked about how there's a great compendium edition from Pocket Books that includes Boy's Life and Gone South, and this is that edition. Nothing too fancy here. It is, once again, just a regular trade edition. This one is yellowed from over the years, but it does include Boy's Life and Gone South all within one hardcover package. It's pretty cheap to find on the secondary market, so if you wanted to get a double dose of Robert McCammon, honestly, this is probably the best way to go for getting the most bang for your buck. But anyways, those are just trade editions. You want to see the fancy stuff. So let's dive in to the Subterranean Press number edition. This was the first limited edition, published about 10 years ago. Excuse my pasty skin, leaving dead skin cells. I do moisturize, I promise, but leaving dead skin cells on the slipcase. This is an oversized edition. This is a little bit bigger in trim size compared to your normal hardcover books, compared to the Suntup edition that I'll do side by side with it in a minute. But it's a very nice quality edition. This was actually fetching quite a pretty penny on the secondary market soon after it sold out, because this was the signed limited edition to have. Prices have gone down a little bit since the release of the Suntup edition. So if you wanted a nicer edition but didn't want to spring for the Suntup edition, you should be able to find the Subterranean Press edition for not necessarily cheap, but you're not going to cost an arm and a leg compared to what you used to. It does feature full color artwork from David Ho. Very, very nice cloth binding, a sewn spine. That way you can get years of enjoyment from reading this and not have to worry about the pages falling to shreds with the binding. It was limited to 474 numbered copies and 26 lettered copies. Mine is 280. It's signed by Robert McCammon right there on that color page. There is no introduction in this one, so you're going right into the novel itself on this very crisp white paper. But hey, it's a very nice edition to read if you wanted a beautiful copy in your hands because of the nice oversized edition. You do have that full color artwork from David Ho tipped in. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I like David Ho as an artist. He does an exceptional job whenever he's, called up to plate to bat. I'm not a huge fan of his artwork here. I mean, there definitely is some darker tones and darker scenes within Boy's Life, but David Ho to me is always like a very dark artist. I mean, you can kind of tell that with the color palette he uses here. And I mean, yeah, there is definitely a dark undertones to this novel, but to have every single illustration using that dark color palette just doesn't quite look right to me. I'm not saying it's all happy and sunshine, but I think I do prefer David Palumbo's artwork from the Suntup edition. But David Ho, it's still a very valiant effort with his artwork. And I know some people probably prefer this artwork to it. But you do get, like I said, full color plates through and through with that. We're going to put that on the side for right now. Now, real quick, I will pull out the numbered edition and showcase that. I don't have the classic edition anymore from Suntup, but I do have this. This, my friends, is an Unbound book block of the lettered edition. Suntup recently had an Unbound book block sale, and one of the titles they had was the lettered edition of Boy's Life. And honestly, this is going to be, unfortunately, it's not completely sewn. You can see this little signature page, signature being 16 pages. From one little group, isn't quite attached to the rest. But one day I hope to get this guy bound in a nice 2-volume set. It was much cheaper than it would be to buy the lettered edition on the secondary market. But it is the best paper out there for this edition. Because I don't think this one did not have a Roman numeral edition, I don't believe. If it did, that would be the edition to go with. But it does not have it. It is signed. Now, these are uncut, untrimmed pages right now, so you can see the pages are stuck together up at the top there. And you'll even see that on the artwork that I'll show you in a second. I'm not going to flip through all the artwork here because they're untrimmed pages. It's going to be kind of annoying to flip through it. It is signed by Robert McCammon and David Palumbo. The letter edition is one of 26 copies. I don't know how many book blocks there are, but obviously this is a PC copy above and beyond those 26. Printed in Arches mold-made paper. Now, the artwork is very nice. I mean, it's the same artwork you're going to see in the numbered edition here in the lettered state. What's really cool with the arches, and I don't know if this is going to pick up on the video there. Oh, you kind of can see it, is that each sheet, so not each page, but each sheet that you're going to get like 8 pages out of, so you're going to see almost like every 4 pages or so, has the Arches watermark worked right into it. You can actually see right there. Just a beautiful quality, soft to the touch, mold-made paper here. It's outstanding. Now, when this is bound, it will be 2 volumes. This letter edition was published in 2 volumes, and that's why there are 2 book blocks here. You could, I guess, get it in one single volume if you wanted to, but it's going to be a massive tome. And honestly, I think the way to go is 2 volumes with that. Then, of course, there is the numbered edition from Suntop Press. This is the best edition that I own that is fully bound. I put that caveat there. Loving the blue versus the blue, comparing the Suntup to the Subterranean Press one. I'm not going to show this in too excruciating detail because I had a whole video already detailing it. But if you haven't watched that video, it has nice quarter bound in leather, beautiful cloth with the bicycles on it. This is letterpress printed. Excuse me while a dog barks in the background. It does feature David Palumbo's artwork, the same artwork that is seen in the lettered edition. But this is Mohawk Superfine, which is still very nice paper. Not as nice as the Arches mold made, and you can kind of see that in terms of just the thickness of the pages themselves. I'll do a side-by-side. It winds up being a fatter tome. This does have an introduction by Robert McCammon, so it does have some additional pages in that. But you do get a fatter tome compared to, say, the Subterranean Press edition, just because it has the smaller trim size here. You got 652 pages in this, and in the Sub Press edition, we have less than 500 pages because you have the larger page blocks. But yeah, I mean, if you're putting them side by side, it's really, fat tome versus skinnier tome. Really, I mean, obviously, the height difference is pretty significant as well, but you're sacrificing the height for a thicker volume. It is also available in a classic edition, which I did do an unboxing on the channel a year ago when I received that. It's a very nice tome. It's not letterpress printed. It does have all the illustrations. It has a dust jacket, unlike this one. It is still signed by McCammon and Palumbo. It's not going to be letterpress printed, but it's still a very, very nice volume to own. And then, of course, side by side, let's look at the thickness-wise lettered versus number. Trim size is still going to be the same. Obviously, these pages, which are untrimmed currently, are going to be a bit taller, a bit wider. But, you can see side by side there the Arches mold made versus the Mohawk Superfine. That is just insane comparing the two of them there. Now, if you have the means, you can absolutely go and buy the lettered edition. You have to go on the secondary market. It's 26 copies. You get two volumes already bound in leather. I'm not really a huge fan of that one. I've mentioned as such in the my numbered edition video. I love the idea of it. I liked the mock-up photos of it. Nice blue leather with like a red label on the side, inlaid in the side on the spine. But like from the pictures I've seen of the finished product, it's too, not neon blue, but it's like too bright of a blue. It almost feels like it's like a Fisher-Price kind of blue. You know, you see like those Fisher-Price toys. That's kind of what it feels like. So, I hate to say that because I'm not trying to knock Suntup. They do an exceptional job with the books that they produce. But I think I'm trying to go a different route with my edition once I eventually get this bound. It probably won't be anytime soon because, as the name of the channel suggests, there are too many books. So I myself am not a bookbinder, and the budget is pretty scarce to hire a bookbinder right now. But you never know. One day I'll get it bound, and if I'm still making videos and I'm not an old man by then, I will gladly showcase that bound lettered edition, which will be one of a kind. The lettered book blocks are sold out. There were a couple numbered book blocks that were added after the numbered edition shipped. I don't know if the same thing might happen after the lettered edition shipped. It might. You don't know. But I think there were 5 that were added. I think they're down to 4 now. It might even be 3 at this point. You're going to get kind of a similar situation here, but with the numbered paper instead. It'll tell you on their site whether it's sewn, whether it has the signature page. Signature page is referred to as the colophon. So if you see the colophon page listed as a yes, that's the signature page. I believe it does have these signatures, like the 16 page blocks, sewn on that, which is nice. That's an extra step you would need to do if you were getting it bound. But theoretically, you could go buy one of those numbered blocks. You're going to get a block. It'll look similar to this, but it'll be this paper here. And you could get it bound whatever way you want. You know, you could, if you want a stark red cover, you could do that. You could keep the spine open if you like. You know, you're feeling like you want it to look like the lettered road or numbered blood meridian. You know, you could do whatever you want, really. But I'll put a link in the description below if you were looking for those book blocks. Because, like I said, there are a couple on there. It is still going to be pricier because it is a finer paper and letterpress printed. It would be cheaper than buying a copy on the secondary market. But, you know, it's going to be more expensive than your trade edition, for example. So anyways, there you have it. A whole number of different copies of Boy's Life by Robert McCammon, all the ones that I have to show. If you have not read this novel, I highly recommend doing so. It is a masterpiece. In my opinion, the best work that Robert McCammon has ever done. And it's available in all sorts of forms, including trade releases. So, you know, you can go wherever books are sold, and you should be able to buy a paperback copy. Or if you're looking for a nice copy to get nice reading material, you can pick up the compendium here that includes the Boy's Life and Gone South. It's a hell of a book to own, and they're both exceptional reading experiences. Definitely worth checking out. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel here. I do at least one book review a week, plenty of unboxing videos, and book comparisons when I can. But anyways, check out Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. Check out Suntup Edition, Sub Press, and all the other small publishers out there. Make sure you keep supporting them when you're able. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you around next time.